Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today my topic is the posterior triangle of the neck, and this posterior triangle lies at the both side of the uh, neck, and here I will explain it well by drawing the sketch. So it start from the superior nuchal line and end at the intermediate third of the clavicle, and there are further two triangle within posterior triangle, and the omohyoid muscle uh, is basically responsible. Basically, the inferior belly of omohyoid muscle is responsible for the division of the posterior triangle into the larger triangle, which is the occipital triangle, and the smaller triangle, which is the subclavian triangle. So now I will explain the boundaries of the posterior triangle. So here is the muscle known as the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and the second one is the trapezius muscle, and it is the sheet of the muscle, and it also forms the wall of the posterior triangle. And the third boundary is the intermediate third of the clavicle below. Now, I will explain about the muscles of the posterior triangle, which are involved in the roof formation of the posterior triangle. So, uh, as I explained just a minute ago, that this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and this is trapezius, and between these two muscles is the posterior triangle. So, the muscles responsible for the floor formation of the posterior triangle is the splenius capitis, then the levator scapulae, which lie at the level of C2, and below the levator scapulae is the scalenus anterior, and down to scalenus anterior is the scalenus medius muscle. And the roof of the posterior triangle is formed by the superficial fascia. So now I will explain about the nerves which are present within the posterior triangle. So here I will explain it by drawing the rough sketch. So the first is the group of the different nerves known as the cervical plexus, then the accessory nerve, and the third one is the Brinkle plexus, which is really important. So this accessory nerve has two roots, cranial and the spinal root, and it give motor innervation to sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. Now I will explain in detail that how the cervical plexus formed, and it is formed by the union of the upper four cervical ventral rami nerves, and it lies at the upper part of the neck. So here is the sketch of the cervical plexus, and in it I will explain the cutaneous branches of the cervical plexus. So uh, there are the four cutaneous branches of cervical plexus. The first one is the lesser occipital at the level of C2, then great auricular at C2 and 3, then transverse nerve of neck at the level of C2 and 3, and the suprascapular vessels, which lies at the level of C3 and 4. And the vein which is present in the posterior triangle is the external jugular vein. And now I will explain about the branchial plexus, and it's really important. And there are four parts of the plexus, and it is formed by the union of the ventral rami of the lower four cervical nerves, and the contribution of thoracic one vertebra. So these are the uh, roots of the branchial plexus, and when roots united, they form the trunk. The superficial trunk, which is the contribution of C5 and C6, is the largest one, and these trunks will um, divide and give the anterior and the posterior branches, and these branches will give the further cords. So here I will explain that how the posterior division will unite to form cord. The posterior division will form the posterior cord. Superior anterior division will form the lateral cord, and the inferior lateral division will form the medial cord. And now I will explain the branches of brachial plexus in the neck, and there are total four branches. The first one is the long thoracic, which lie posterior to brachial plexus, and it formed by the contribution of C5, C6, and the C7. And the second one is the dorsal scapular, which lie at the level of C5, and the third one is the nerve to the subclavian, and the fourth one is the suprascapular nerve, which is formed by the junction of the C5 and C6. So here we are done with it, and if you like my videos, to subscribe my channel. Thank